Not only
Where
have
did
you
that
support,
fact come
excuse
from,
me, Ms. Lake,
Representative?
I'm sorry to remind you, you are not a governor, you're not even a candidate for governor, you're here, and this is my time. Not only a lie,
I know that
you are
voted.
responsible for an agency that is supposed to promote truth, and yet, over and over again, you are promoting dictators and authoritarians and lies. So I am asking you if you stand by the statement that you made that was promoted by Russian state media that the Pentagon was funding bioweapon labs in Ukraine, proven false by Marco Rubio. Do you stand by that
I
statement?
understand you're trying to.
What's up, America? Welcome back to America Briefs, the place where we cut through the nonsense and defend the values this country was built on. Today, we're diving into a heated exchange on Capitol Hill between Representative Pramila Jayapal and none other than Kari Lake. And let me tell you, this right here is exactly why we're fighting to save our country.
Ms. Jayapal from Washington for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here, Ms. Lake. The U.S. Agency for Global Media is tasked with providing unbiased news worldwide to over 427 million listeners, many of whom live in countries without freedom of press or freedom of the speech. And it is your job to promote the American ideals of freedom and democracy. So I wanted to start just by confirming, do you support democracy or authoritarianism?
I think that's pretty obvious. I support freedom and democracy.
Democracy. Great. Would you agree that accepting the results of a fair and free election are critical to a functioning democracy?
Would you agree that standing
That's
up
not
and
my
cheering
question
for
is,
a cancer survivor would have been the nice thing to do?
Ms. Lake, this is my time.
Okay.
Would you accept that accepting the results of a free and fair election are critical to a functioning democracy? It's a yes or no question. Do you think it's essential
I
for
think
democracy to have a free and fair election?
We need free and fair elections.
Free and fair
sadly,
elections,
we don't
great,
have
thank
them.
you so much. And yet, you have, to this day, refused to acknowledge that President Trump lost the 2020 election, something that even members of President Trump's own Justice Department have admitted and multiple lawsuits have shown. And we heard my colleague from Arizona talk about what happened in Arizona. So it concerns me that you are now tasked with this responsibility of ensuring democracy around the world when you won't even accept a free and fair election. I'm also concerned by your ability to promote the American ideals of freedom and democracy, given your record defending and praising dictators. Let's look at Hungary. You previously stated that Hungary is, quote, doing it right, and that Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán was, quote, the greatest in America, greatest in caps, and, quote, and equal to President Trump. Do you stand by those statements?
I think that Viktor Orbán has done a very good job at protecting his people and protecting the Hungarian culture.
And so,
I think
Ms. Lake,
if you ask people in Europe, other parts of
Europe, the question here is very simple.
They would be wishing that their leaders stood up for their people.
Is Viktor Orbán the greatest in Europe? Yes or no?
I think he's done the best job in Europe, yes.
Okay, and so even Secretary Rubio acknowledged in a 2019 letter that under Orban, Hungary took a downward democratic trajectory, and yet you insist that Hungary is doing it right. I want to cover some of the policies that Mr. Orban is responsible for. Would you consider banning LGBTQ pride parades like Viktor Orban has done in Hungary as doing it right, recognizing that pride parades are protected under the First Amendment?
What does this have to do with the U.S. Agency for Global Media?
I'm asking you whether you support the policies of dictators and authoritarians or whether you support democracy. You have said that Viktor Orbán is the greatest in Europe. So do you think that Viktor Orbán is doing it right when he bans pride parades?
I think Viktor Orbán has put the people of his country first.
So the answer is yes, you think it's appropriate that he's banning pride parades and using facial recognition technology to actually profile people that go to those parades? How about the fact that Orban and his party control 80% of Hungary's media market?
Are we here talking about Hungary?
Yes, we are, because guess what? Your agency actually is responsible for other countries
Hungary
and
is an
unbiased
ally. Can
news.
I remind you that Hungary is an ally of America?
Oh, and so you think that it's okay that Viktor Orban, the greatest in Europe, according to you, controls 80% of Hungary's media market? Is that level free and fair reporting?
I don't. You obviously don't like our ally Hungary. I think that
I'm
the
asking
people
you
have voted
if
for
you
him, and the
think
people of
that
Hungary
it's
will decide.
appropriate, Ms. Lake, it is my time. I'm asking you if it is appropriate that a country, Viktor Orbán's government, controls 80% of Hungary's media market. It's just a yes or a no. Do you think that's okay? Think he's the greatest of all
I don't have
time?
an opinion on what Viktor Orbán is doing in Hungary.
It's not up
okay?
for
Other
debate.
than I
It's
know
a
he puts his
fact
people
that has been
first.
documented by numerous organizations.
who?
Now,
Can
not
you tell me
only
where that
have you
fact come
supported,
from?
not only
Where
have
did
you
that
supported,
fact come
excuse
from,
me, Ms. Lake,
Representative?
I'm sorry to remind you, you are not a governor. You're not even a candidate for governor. You're here, and this is my time. Not only have you supported dictators that have supported policies that erode democracy, you also spread claims promoted by Russian state media that the Pentagon was funding bioweapon labs in Ukraine. These claims have been proven resoundingly false, even by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Do you still stand by that prior
Look,
statement, Ms. Lake?
I know that many members of Congress care more about
Do
funding
you
Ukraine
stand
than
by that statement,
order?
which is clearly a lie?
I know that you
You are
voted.
responsible for an agency that is supposed to promote truth, and yet, over and over again, you are promoting dictators and authoritarians and lies. So I am asking you if you stand by the statement that you made that was promoted by Russian state media that the Pentagon was funding bioweapon labs in Ukraine. Proven false by Marco Rubio. Do you stand by that
I
statement?
understand you're trying to get a fundraising video here.
Okay,
So
well,
let me
you
help
clearly
make-
don't
let me
understand that
reminding
you
the
are
people-
actually
time
here
has
bef-
expired.
District.
before
Your time
Congress.
expired,
Mr.
Ms.
Chairman, I
Jayapal.
just want to say
you had
that
more than enough time. I gave you a few extra
I
seconds, and your
understand,
time
and
has expired.
unfortunately,
and I now recognize Representative
Ms. Lake
Davidson.
is not responding
Can
to
I
the
have
questions.
just 1 second to respond? Because who is going to be speaking
Representative
next?
Davidson is next.
Oh, may I have just 1 second to respond to that? Obviously, from some of the questions we're hearing from the Democrats, they care more about a lot of other countries than America. And we've seen
So Jayapal, your typical far-left globalist, decides to lecture Kari Lake on what democracy is. Yep, the same folks who cheered on lockdowns, censorship, and weaponized DOJ raids now think they get to define democracy for the rest of us. That's rich. Now let's get into it. She grilled Kari Lake about her comments on Viktor Orbán, the Hungarian prime minister, saying he's authoritarian and anti-democratic because he protects traditional culture and limits LGBTQ propaganda aimed at kids. Oh no, a leader actually standing up for national identity and family values. How terrible, right? Kari Lake held her own. She wasn't there to bow to the liberal elite. She said what millions of us are thinking. Orban isn't the problem. He's a man protecting his people. His borders are secure. His media doesn't get run by corporate globalists. And yeah, he doesn't let radical ideologies brainwash children. You can call it what you want, but to me that sounds like leadership. Let's not forget what democracy actually is. It's not mob rule. It's not Twitter polls. It's the voice of the people, free speech, honest elections, borders, and sovereignty. But when the left talks about democracy, they mean one-party rule, censorship, and silencing dissent. Jayapal tried to corner Lake over the 2020 election too, like we're just supposed to ignore all the sketchy stuff that went down. Are we not allowed to question anything now? Since when did questioning power become un-American? You know what I saw in that hearing? A bold patriot being attacked for telling the truth. The left hates Kari Lake because she doesn't play their game. She talks about God, family, and America first, and they can't stand it. They want politicians who bend the knee to global institutions and woke ideology. We want leaders who put Americans first. Period. Let me be clear. I don't care what the EU or CNN thinks about Orban or Kari Lake. I care about putting food on the table, keeping my kids safe from propaganda, and making sure this country still stands for something when they grow up. If you're sick of these gotcha games, these globalist lectures, and the nonstop attacks on people who dare to speak up, you're in the right place. Make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Tell me, do you think Kari Lake is wrong about Orban? Or is she the only one saying what we're all thinking? This is America Briefs, and we don't back down. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.